Hello everyone and welcome to Brainwaves. Today on Brainwaves I welcome Dr. Elyn Saks. Elyn Saks is a person who Patrick Kennedy has called our premier mental health advocate. And she is a chair professor of law at USC Gould School of Law. And she also is the author of the book, the landmark memoir about her experience with schizophrenia, The Center Cannot Hold, My Journey Through Madness. She also is the recipient of a MacArthur Fellowship for her work in advocacy, sometimes known as the Genius Grant. And she is also founder of the Saks Institute for promotion of mental health policy improvements and spreading awareness about mental illness. And she's actually here with us today on Brainwaves. Can you believe that? So Elyn, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Brandon, for having me. It's a great thing you're doing with brainwaves and brain and behavior. I really applaud what you're doing. So thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you again. And so I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Great. So Elyn, you've been one of my heroes for several years now, ever since I read your book. It helped me to accept that I have a mental health condition, schizophrenia, that's never just going to evaporate, and it's a real thing, and I need to manage it probably for an indefinite amount of time. Maybe the rest of my life, and this realization has helped me to move on in my life and kind of improve my life a lot. So, I know you struggled for a long time with your condition and your diagnosis about wanting to take medication or not wanting to take it, and what finally enabled you to accept your condition and move on in your life?
It's a very, very good question, and I'm really happy and delighted that my work has helped you in your own life. So as you said, I spent years and years, like 10 years, trying to get off medication, and I undertook each effort with great gusto and failed miserably each time. I used to say I didn't want to use a crutch. Now I say if my foot were broken, I'd use a crutch. Shouldn't I treat my damaged or troubled neurotransmitters just as gently? And the thing that most persuaded me that I had a mental illness and needed medication was getting on a really good medication and giving it a try for a while. And it really cleared my mind. I had always had a fantasy that everybody's mind contained the chaos and violence and confusion that mine did. They were just better at managing it. So I was like socially maladroit and not mentally ill. And getting on the drug and having my mind clear dispelled that. And ironically, the more that I accepted that I had a mental illness, the less it defined me. It became kind of accident rather than essence. So that's how when I look back, I think to myself, for those 10 years, I wish I had been smarter sooner, but I'm so glad that I wasn't forced and that I came to the decision to take the medication in my own way and in my own time.
That's great. That's great. And a prominent theme in your public talks is that people with schizophrenia often have the power and should pursue their life goals and their dreams. And as somebody who's been able to do that now, what are some of the obstacles that you faced, and how have you overcome them?
So I think it's a really bad mistake when clinicians tell people just diagnosed with schizophrenia that they should drastically lower their expectations. I can't tell you, after I wrote this New York Times essay, how many people emailed me. My doctor said, don't go back to college, you'll never finish, be a cashier, work at a menial job. And when I was actually evaluated to be readmitted to Yale Law School after I'd had a breakdown, the doctor suggested that I become a cashier. And I thought to myself, I've been a student all my life, I'm good at it, I like it, the hours are flexible. How much more stressful for me to have a line of people demanding change? So it's not one size fits all. And when I look back on my days at Yale, when I was on and off medication, I was quite symptomatic, and I'm not really sure how I did it. I just kind of plowed through. My brother used to say that I was the most stubborn person he ever met, and this may be an example of that. Just kept on trudging, kept on working. So I also get enormous pleasure and gratification out of work. You know, when I focus on work, the crazy stuff recedes to the sidelines. So that's how all that happened.
Wow, that's awesome. So not only is pursuing your goals and dreams enabled you to fulfill some of them and do great things in the world, but it helps you as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the best defenses I have against my mental illness.
Awesome.
That I have this drive and pleasure from working.
That's great. So, so now you work in advocacy, and you share your story to promote understanding of what mental illness is, and you also enable others to share their story, which is great. And you also work on specific issues in mental health policy, such as humane treatment of patients in inpatient centers. What is your proudest accomplishment to date in your advocacy work?
Um, in terms of law and mental health, I mean, I'm most proud of the memoir because I think it really gives a window into the mind of someone suffering and people can understand more and empathize more and that kind of thing. But in terms of more academic work, my area is law and psychiatry, mental health law. And one of my proudest moments was after I graduated law school, I wanted to be a public interest lawyer. And I lasted all of 8 months. I hated the job. It was boring and stressful at the same time. But I decided to go into academia, and I kind of felt like I sold out. And then I got a phone call from someone at the Mental Health Law Project, now called the Bazelon Center, saying that they're using my law school article, my law school note, to bring a massive class action lawsuit in the Midwest on restraints. And I just felt so good about that. I felt like my kind of best contribution in the area can be doing research and scholarship and having people who are better advocates than I take that material and run with it. I'm also very proud of my work on right to refuse treatment and capacity to consent to and refuse treatment. So I've, along with some folks at UCSD Medical School, designed instruments to measure capacity where we study with human subjects. So I'm doing sort of empirical research into ethical dimensions of research and treatment. And I'm very proud of that work as well.
Wow, that's really cool, because I mean it's such a kind of a hot button issue about involuntary treatment, and if there could be some solution for people to understand whether they would need to take medication themselves or how to judge whether they're able to choose, then that would
It's an incredible
cement.
problem, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for doing all that great work.
Thank you.
Beyond policy, I know you've done some research of your own, investigating why people with schizophrenia, who are actually very high functioning, do so well in their lives. And why, in your view, is mental health research such an important component of resolving the issue of mental illness in our society?
Research is incredibly, incredibly important, from basic research into biological processes to psychosocial issues and other qualitative issues. The more we can understand diseases like schizophrenia, the better we're going to be able to help people who have those illnesses and reduce the burden of the illness on the patient, family, and society. And I think it's really fantastic what IMRO is doing in terms of funding cutting-edge research that's going to help people like me. I've been the beneficiary of a lot of important research, and I want to thank you for supporting that and helping people like me.
Oh, you're so welcome, Ellen, and thank you for taking what research has done and running with it in your life and your career and doing so well. And so thanks, Ellen.
Thank you, Brandon.
So what's on the horizon for you and for the Saks Institute?
We want to study 4 or 5 different issues at the intersection of law, mental health, and ethics. And some of the issues that we've studied and are going to study are mechanical restraints in psych hospitals, psychotropic meds in the law, criminalization of mental illness. This year we're studying mental health disorders in students, college students, and trainees. We're going to study that in professionals. We're going to probably look at stigma. We're going to look at high-functioning schizophrenia. And what I do at the Institute is I recruit students, 5 or 6 law students, and then PhD and MD people from psychiatry, psychology, social work, gerontology, philosophy, neuroscience. And the students all, in a given year, work on papers on the issue that's the issue for the year. Then we have a distinguished lecture in the fall. We had Patrick Kennedy come to speak to us along with 2 students, which was really cool. And the spring symposium is going to be March 12th and 13th, and your listeners and viewers are, of course, welcome to come if that topic interests you. But I'm hoping, that we become kind of the go-to place that policymakers would go to when they're facing issues that we're studying. So that's kind of the goal.
Is there a URL where people can go to learn more about the Saks Institute and these upcoming events?
My email is esaks@law.usc.edu. I'd be happy to connect you.
Okay.
EAS@law.usc.edu.
Okay, great. Thanks, Elyn. Thanks so much for being on Brainwaves today.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. I really appreciate what you're doing again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if people have questions for you on the website, would you be able to answer some questions for them?
Absolutely. Shoot away and I'll respond.
Okay. Thanks, Elyn. This is great. I appreciate all your contributions to mental health research and advocacy and to this.
Thank you.